Just a quick recap of the last ball game. I've been talking about being a versatile football team kind of all year, and I thought our versatility showed itself again Saturday against Kansas. Clearly being our ability to possess the football, creating explosive plays on offense was a key factor in the game. It was really our best game on third and fourth down that we've had all year, where we were 9 of 15 on third down plus 2 for 2 on fourth down. Do the math on that. That's 11 of our 15 drives that we were able to extend on third down and fourth down, and not punting. We missed a couple field goals there and had the pick at the end of the first half, but just our ability to extend drives I thought was very impressive, and the balance that we had was really encouraging. On the flip side, defensively, really, it's like 3 plays that got out on us. They had the long touchdown run, which was a great play by Catalan, knocking the ball off. The ball bounces to him. Poor execution on the touchdown pass that they hit, and then they got us on kind of a wide leak play that hurt us. But outside of that, I thought defensively we played really well. On the flip side, our defense holding them 0 for 8 on third down and 0 for 2 on fourth down. So things there that were encouraging. I think naturally there's always things for us to work on and get better at. We want to score touchdowns just like everybody else wants us to when we're in the red area. So drilling down on that execution is important. I think again minimizing the explosive plays on defense is going to be critical. And then our operation on field goals got to get better. Snap, hold, kick. We've got to clean that up. Bert's too good of a kicker to have missed a few here in the last couple weeks, so we've got to get that cleaned up. As far as this game, Red River rivalry. It's why we're in college football, right? To be part of games like this. 2 undefeated teams, 2 top 25 teams. The spotlight of college football will be on us. I think that the beauty for us, this will be our 3rd top 25 matchup now in 6 games. And every team we've played has got a winning record and is doing good things. So I think that we've been exposed to some high-level football now through 5 weeks. And naturally we understand the emotions that will come with this game and different things. I think it's critical for us that we have a great week of preparation, that we take it one day at a time, and then we go in with the mindset to execute on Saturday. Emotions will run naturally as they do in games like this. The key to the drill is that we execute at a high level. So great deal of respect for OU. Coach Venables has done a tremendous job going into year 2. The quarterback, Gabriel's playing at a very high level. They've got an explosive unit. He distributes the ball beautifully, whether it's RPOs, advantage throws, shot plays, things of that nature. So, and then defensively, they have an influx of transfers. I think they have 9 transfers on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of which are on the front. So I think they've naturally upgraded there. And Coach Venables, he's been doing it a long time. He's one of the best in the business at game planning and getting his defenses ready to play. So we know it's going to be a great challenge. We're looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing our fans in Dallas for, in my opinion, the best setting in college football. This is going to be an awesome environment, and we're very fortunate and humbled to be part of the game.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go ahead and get started up front for the game.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like you're wanting to make a change with Bert.
No.
What do you do to kind of help him get over his struggles? And I guess.
I think at the end, what happened? Okay, the kick against Baylor, we have a high snap. We don't protect the edge very well. He pushes it right off the upright. The second one's a 50-yarder. So percentages aren't great from 50, but I think we can clean that up. And then the 47-yarder. Again, a little bit of a high snap, but again, I think he's better. So I think us getting our battery, our operation, snap, hold, kick, protection to ensure confidence in him, and then 2, him trusting his training. He's too good. He's been doing it for 2 years for us now. It's just getting him back into his comfort zone, and he started that today. He kicked the ball well today.
Stay here on the left, Kirk.
Steve, y'all and Oklahoma are kind of partners in crime, leaving for the SEC. Is it going to be harder to embrace the hate this week, or will you hate them as much as ever?
I don't know. We embrace it because they're supposed to hate us. I don't know. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, this is it's a great rivalry, right? And I don't think there's a whole lot of love lost between the fan bases, between the ex-players, the ex-coaches. There's a lot of crossover on both rosters of players that have played together in high school or against each other in high school. The coaching staffs have competed against each other, maybe not at these two institutions, but at different places. So in the end, you know, it is what it is. We're trying to compete for a Big 12 championship, and so are they. And so it's going to take our best effort, not only physically, but I think mentally, to be sharp Saturday.
In the middle, Dennis.
As fun as last year's Red River game was for Texas, how different is this OU team? You talked about the transfers, and then you get a look at Dylan Gabriel this time.
Well, I mean, we're going to get their best version, right? You know, Dylan is a fantastic player. He's a great player at UCF. He's a great player now, obviously, for OU. So we know we're going to get the best version of him. We know with the influx that they have on defense, their defense is playing at a really high level right now. And I'm sure, you know, that they're talking about last year's game too. So we're going to get an emotional team coming into the Cotton Bowl that we're going to have to compete against. And so, you know, we just have to recognize that, and then we have to play good football at the end of the day. You know, emotion's great, and it only runs for so long. But if you rely on just emotion to try to match emotion, sooner or later you can exhaust yourself, and it's going to come down to execution. So we just got to make sure we're dialed in.
Over here on the left, Thomas.
Coach Quinn's showing off his mobility the last couple of weeks. Is that something you guys have encouraged him to do, or did it come naturally? And also, how's JT and Ryan Watts doing?
Yeah, I think with Quinn, it's probably both. You know, we've always preached, you know, we're not a running quarterback team. You know, we don't run design quarterback runs like a lot of other people do. But we do rely on the quarterback to use his legs at opportune times, most notably third down and in the red area. And I think Quinn is really starting to excel at that. You know, if you notice, when do his scrambles come? Third down in the red area. And he's used his legs, and he's used his newfound conditioning and speed to be an advantage for him and for us. So that's been a real positive. JT and Ryan are both day-to-day right now. You know, it's going to take a minute for them to rehab and see if they'll be able to go. I'll probably have a better answer for you on Thursday.
In the middle, Jeff.
Coach Adonai Mitchell, can you take us back to the recruitment of him? What made him a perfect fit for Texas, and if you know, what made Texas a perfect fit for him? What do you remember about that process?
You know, I think for AD, you know, we were looking for something complementary to Xavier, and we were looking for a guy that had the skill set to take the top off of defense. So Xavier wasn't the only deep ball threat that we had. We were looking for a guy that could make plays on 50-50 type balls that had a really good range, a catch radius, and we were looking for a guy with experience I didn't want to roll the dice on could he handle playing in this environment and with the team that we have and what we think we could. And so he kind of checked all the boxes. And then when we started the recruitment process of it, you got a sense of his maturity. You know, he has a daughter. He's a great father. He's got two awesome parents that raised him really well. And it was an opportunity for him to come home, you know, being from Houston to come back to Texas and still be in a system that was pro style, coming from Georgia, that fit kind of what he was looking for. I think it was a good fit all the way around.
In the middle, Bob.
You mentioned Oklahoma and the emotions they'll go through coming off last year's game. How important is it to establish the physicality in a game like this? Or I know it's important every game, but especially in a game like this with all the emotions that go into it.
Well, I think, you know, for us, that's kind of a prerequisite. If we're going to play good football in any game, we have to play physical. You know, we're not a don't block defensive ends and read defensive ends and try to create space that way. We're kind of a double team driven power running team. We throw a lot of balls on the perimeter, and we have to block on the perimeter. They're kind of similar. All the perimeter things that they do, their receivers block, and so we've got to do a great job on defense of getting off those blocks at the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of gap scheme things of our ability to get off blocks. So I think there's a level of physicality to both teams and their style of play. You put the two together in this environment, obviously that ramps those things up. So, I do think it's going to be of importance Saturday.
On your right, Joe.
About their defense, they obviously struggled last year against y'all's offense. Where have you seen the most improvement from that side of the ball this year for Oklahoma?
I think they're playing really well together. Coach Venables, he's been doing it too long at too high of a level to think they weren't going to, get that thing fixed. I said it last year that they would, and so naturally they have. I think they're just playing well together. A lot of guys on the same accord. The front tied together with the backers, tied together with the secondary. The multiplicity of what they do is very challenging. They've got a lot of defense. They got a lot of coverages. They got a lot of pressure packages. So, it's definitely challenging on that front, especially when they're all on the same accord and working well together. So, like I said, we've got our work cut out for us offensively this week in preparation for the ball game.
Over here on your left, Chip.
Yeah, Steve, I was just going to kind of follow up on that, like the specifics of what makes a Brent Venables defense so good, and also Danny Stutzman, what you're seeing from him on film and from their secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is what it is. The multiplicity of what they do, right? I mean, Brent has got a lot of defense, and then he carries it all, so you go into a game, you're not really sure what you're going to get. You can turn on the game against SMU, it's one style. You can turn on the game against Iowa State, it's something different, so on and so forth. And so there's a lot to prepare for, and then his aggressiveness in calling it. I think that when their secondary is really dialed in with what they're doing up front, that's when it makes it very difficult. Stutzman, historically with Brent, he's always had that kind of playmaker linebacker in his system that he asks a lot of. He's a really good blitzer. He can pressure the quarterback. He's really good in coverage and zone coverage of keeping his eyes on the quarterback to create turnovers. And he's a good tackler. So I think for all that, it takes football IQ, and you definitely can tell he's got a high football IQ over there with what they do.
On your right, on one.
Hey, Coach, when things weren't going so well, you always talked about trying to build trust amongst the team, and I think one of your sayings was trust equals time plus consistency. Are you seeing a payoff of that this year? And if so, can you give me maybe some examples of what you're seeing this year as compared to maybe the infancy stages?
Yeah, no, I think trust is enormous to our success, and it's trust in their own training. It's trust in their coaches, that their coaches are putting them in the best position to have success. It's trust in the guys that they're playing with, next to, on the field, in the moment, the calls that are being made, and everybody working on the same page. So, at the end, the best examples I can give are the reality of the execution that we have right now. We aren't playing football where there's a bunch of mistakes, right? Generally, coverage-wise, in the back end, right? We're not blowing coverages like we have maybe the last couple years. Up front, I think we had a couple issues early on with protection, but now from a protection standpoint, the pocket's been pretty clean. I think the runners trusting now, we had some young runners trusting the offensive line and the blocking scheme of where these balls should hit, and you're seeing a little bit of a different style of runner out of Jonathan Brooks and Cedric, for that matter. They're hitting these holes. So I think with Quinn in his trust of throwing these balls to a spot, like he threw a ball to Xavier the other day, a deep out on our sidelines that he threw before Xavier even broke. So there's levels of trust to this, but in the end, that's when we operate at our best. If we are not independent contractors, we all work together, and collectively when we have trust, which I think we've earned over time with the consistency of which we go about our business, that puts our trust at a high that makes us feel good.
Over here on the left, Leah.
Coach, last week you spotlighted David Benda for sticking through this program and, earning his spot. And there's a couple other guys on this team who have also waited their turn, like Jonathan Brooks, for example. What is your pitch to these guys in this day and age with the transfer portal to get them to stay and stick to the development?
Well, I think first it starts with our relationship with them. I try to be a very hands-on head coach. Some call me a player's coach, some don't. Depends on if I got on them that day at practice or not. But Yeah, I just try to have a really good connection with them. I think our coaches try to have a really good connection with our players. And I think at the end of the day, whether you're the first on the depth chart, second on the depth chart, a scout team player for that matter right now in season, we're trying to get everybody better every day. We're trying to develop all of our players in our program to be the best that they can be, whether that's as a football player, as a student, or as a person. And I think our players appreciate that. I think that they feel like, man, I'm at a place where people care about who I am, what I do. They're trying to help me get better, become, like I said, a better player, a better student, a better person. And ultimately, we've created a culture that the guys like to be part of. And so there's not a lot that we have to sell them on. If a guy wants to transfer, we wish him luck. I don't feel like I should be at a place now where I have to talk somebody to want to stay in our program, or I have to talk a player to want to commit to our program. I think at the end of the day, we're very transparent of who we are and what we do and how we do it. And the guys that choose to come here are coming for the reasons that I think are the right reasons, and the players that stay in our program are staying because of the right reasons. That doesn't mean we're not going to have some guys leave that I wish would have stayed in our program. We've had a couple of those, but I also understand the guys that have stayed are staying because they feel like they're getting developed. They're in a really good culture with their coaches, with their teammates, and ultimately, we're having some success, and they're knowing, man, when my time comes, I'm going to be ready to play.
On your right, Roger.
Sark, well, the games might all mean the same. The surrounding hype obviously is different. You went through with Alabama. I imagine that helps this week. And then what are some of the keys you and the coaches look for with your guys to seem like they're dialed in like they were that week?
Well, I think, to your point, I mean, obviously the Alabama week with the potential distractions that come with a week like this. And I think, one thing we keep preaching to our players is starve your distractions, feed your focus, right? And if we focus on the task at hand, and that's one day at a time, focus on today, and what are we trying to do today? Be present today, be present on purpose. That's the formula for us to be successful. For other teams, that may be different, but the team that we have, that's our formula for success. And so how do I gauge that? Do I feel like they're present today, right? Do I really feel like they're dialed into what we're doing today? And then we'll take care of tomorrow. But for us to be successful Saturday, we need to be really good today on Monday. And then tomorrow, we need to be good again tomorrow. One day at a time. In our system and our approach is the best way of going about it. We were able to do that in preparation for the Alabama game, and I think that that's going to be of the utmost importance this week as well. With all the stuff going on around this game, we need to be really present with what we're doing.
Stay on the right, Terry.
Coach, you had mentioned how efficient this team is playing, and they're executing your game plan with efficiency. Can you tell us one or two details that maybe fans aren't aware of or know about how you and your staff prepare for the next chess match?
Well, if you can imagine, when we come in on Sunday as a staff and we grade the tape and we put that game to bed, when we go on to the next game, that call sheet I have on the sideline, I wipe it clean. There's nothing on it. And then we build that game plan that week from a blank slate, from a clean slate. And so as it grows from throughout that day and then we present it to our players, it's about them understanding why we're doing the things that we're doing in this plan and then how we're going to do it. And so every week it's different, right? And sometimes from a fan's perspective, the plays may just look the same, but there's a reason maybe we're running them a little bit different this week, and then the players need to know the why we're doing it differently and then how to execute it. So I know a lot of times it just looks like we run the ball right up the middle, but there's some intricacies to what we're doing of how we're running that ball right up the middle.
Over here on the far left, better.
Hey, Steve, you never ran from expectations that come with being the head coach at Texas, so I'm going to ask you point blank, are you coaching the best team in college football, and how does it feel to hear that question 2 years after 5-7?
That's for you guys to answer. I don't have a vote. I'm not in the coach's poll, so I don't have a vote. But some of you in this room do. But anyhow, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's flattering to some degree. The fact that the product that we're putting on the field is one that people appreciate the way that we're playing, and I think our players have earned the respect of some of that feel that way, and hopefully we can continue to do that. But there's a lot of football left this year. We haven't even hit the halfway point. And ultimately, like I've said all along, our goal is to be in Arlington December 3rd and try to win a Big 12 championship. Then whatever happens is supposed to happen. But if we don't do that, everything else is irrelevant. So it really, I hate to say it doesn't really matter where we are today. Where are we at the end of the season when we have a total body of work? And so as I told the team before the season, and I tell them every week, the opinions of others doesn't matter. What we do does. And so we've got to go out every Saturday and play a brand and a style of football that not only makes us proud as coaches, makes them proud that they're doing it, and makes Longhorn Nation proud that the way we play is a brand and style of football that is one that we all appreciate because of the way our guys go about it.
In the middle, Eric.
Steve, could you talk about the value that Malik Agbo has brought in 12 personnel, not only as an additional blocker in the run game, but looks like last week you guys were able to use a little max protect and find success in the pass game as well?
Yeah, Malik, really talented young man. He's very smart. He's extremely athletic. He's a guy, if you go back and watch his recruiting tape, he's actually playing some 7-on-7, playing tight end. And he was a really good basketball player. So he's got a very versatile skill set. Historically for us, systematically, we've always had a lineman kind of in that role. We think it's effective for what we do and causes the defense, just some different things that they need to prepare for. I'm hopeful, actually, with Malik, we can start to do even more. I think that he has got a skill set that is above and beyond what we've had, historically at that position with that guy. So hopefully we can continue to expand on his role that way. But been very impressed. He's handled this new position that we've been using him on game day really well.
Back by the cameras on the left here, Noah.
Hey, Coach. Saturday after the win, you mentioned your team's maturity, how much that's helped you. In a week like this, a game like Saturday, what does that veteran leadership, that maturity of this group do for the whole team?
Oh, I think it's huge. You got to remember, I have a bunch of guys in that locker room that were on the sideline when we lost a 20-something point lead 2 years ago, right? In a very tough loss. And then a bunch of guys in that locker room that won a big game last year. So they felt the lowest of the lows in this game. They felt the highest of the highs, right? And so I think they understand the value of keeping our composure, keeping our poise, play the next play 4 quarters of football, because that's what this game requires. This game is not about what happens in the first quarter. It's going to be about how we play for 4 quarters and the consistency in which we do it. And I think our veteran leadership understands that. These guys have been through this battle before, and they have to take that workman-like attitude every single day so that the younger players can understand that. Young players, when they get in rivalry games, they're about the emotion, right? And we want to try to reduce some of that, and we want to focus on the execution.
In the middle, Jim.
Steve, Jonathan's having such a big year, but he also had some tragedy in his family, losing his father. I'm wondering, when that happens to a young guy like that, what does the program do? What do you do to try to help them get through that sort of grief? And is it the sort of thing you have to constantly just check in with him to see how he's doing and move him forward?
Yeah, I think that, specifically for Jonathan, but for a lot of our players, when you have 121 sons or 120 sons, we're going to have off the field adversity that strikes. And anytime death is involved, in Jonathan's case with his father, that's tough, that's traumatic. And the biggest thing we try to do is just get around him and let him know we're here for him. I thought his teammates did a great job when his father passed. I mean, they were all there for him. Our coaches were there for him. You put your arm around him. You constantly check in on him. But again, when you have relationships with people and real relationships with people, it's a little easier to get connected, and it's a little easier for the person that's going through something to be vulnerable, to express how they feel, so they don't feel like they have to harbor those feelings. And we talk a lot about mental health, but we never know where mental health issues come from. But if you have real connections and real relationships with your players, you have a better chance of understanding and knowing when a guy's going through something. And but if not, and you're just like, well, he's in a bad mood, what's wrong with him? Then it's difficult. So we just try to foster those relationships, and when they go through some hardship or adversity, we just try to get our arms around them, and we try to pick our guys up, and the team does a great job with one another. And I think that's one of the special things about this team we have right now is our connectivity, our culture that they've created. Like I said, I had an idea of what I wanted our culture to be, but these players have taken it to a space. They've elevated it to somewhere that gone above and beyond of what I thought it could be.
Far right, Ed.
Coach, 11 o'clock kickoff, earliest kickoff of the season. Do you like the early kickoff, and how different is the preparation with the 11 o'clock tee time?
I love 11 a.m. kicks. We practice every morning. We're on the field every day at 8:55. We're in the building every day at 6 a.m. So for our guys, I think they're excited about it, that this is our first 11 a.m. kick. It really doesn't change for us preparation-wise, travel-wise. Our Friday routine will be our same normal travel Friday routine. So we'll do all of our night meetings and so on and so forth. We'll get up, put our suits on, have breakfast, and go to work. That's kind of what we got to do.
Two last ones in the middle, Westcott.
You told us before the season that you thought that rotating more defensively would help finish games better. How much is that paying off, and how much of a difference is that to be able to do it in maybe a way that you couldn't last season or the year before?
Yeah, I think it's been huge. Like I said, we've gone through first halves of games where we played upwards of 30 guys. And sometimes you don't feel the effect of that rotation in the first half, but naturally, you look at some of these fourth quarters we've been having now, and the way we're finishing some of these games, I do think is paying dividends off, not only in that game that we're specifically talking about, but over the course of the season, right? They're just not accumulating as many reps, and we're more fresh. I think we're more fresh physically, we're more fresh mentally, and the guys are really kind of buying into that idea of let's rotate our guys through. When my number's called, I'm going to go empty the tank. I don't have to try to save any of my energy, because the next guy's going to come in, and I'm going to trust him that he's going to do his job as well.
Last one over here on the left, Kurt.
And Steve, I wonder if you get extra juiced up for games like this. Do you sleep in the office or alter your routine? And do you work on Oklahoma a little bit all year?
I try to stay as consistent as possible. I think that I'm a routine-oriented guy, and I think routine is helpful. And that was something I gained from Coach Saban. He was very, routine regimented. I don't necessarily know that you work on them all year, but you try to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. When you go into games like this, you understand you're going to get their best shot. And as I talk to the team out, we got to make sure that they get our best shot. And that's for the coaches too. We have to make sure that we're leaving no stone unturned, that we're putting our players in the best position possible to be successful. And whether that's schematics, whether that's matchups, whatever that looks like, we try to make sure that we exhaust ourselves to do that.